Don Massimo Torricelli from 365 Days is one of those fictional characters who created massive obsession online almost overnight. Even people who openly said he's toxic still admitted they were fascinated by him. That contradiction is exactly what made the character so viral. He represents danger, confidence, obsession, power, luxury, and emotional intensity all mixed into one fantasy package. For many viewers, he was not attractive because he was morally good, he was attractive because he felt emotionally overwhelming. A huge reason girls became obsessed with Massimo is because fiction allows people to safely explore fantasies they would never want in real life. Real-life mafia behavior is terrifying and destructive, but fictional stories remove the real consequences and focus only on the emotional thrill. The audience sees expensive suits, possessiveness, emotional tension, luxury lifestyles, and intense chemistry without experiencing the actual fear and violence that would exist in reality. The character also arrived during a period where dark romance became extremely popular online. Platforms like TikTok, Wattpad, and fan edits romanticized mysterious anti-heroes who were emotionally unavailable yet deeply obsessed with one woman. Massimo perfectly matched that archetype. He wasn't written as a realistic partner, he was written almost like a fantasy figure designed to trigger emotional intensity and escapism. Another reason is that many viewers interpreted his obsession with Laura as passion instead of control. The film constantly frames his attention as irresistible devotion. He watches her, remembers details about her, protects her, desires her intensely, and makes her feel like the center of his universe. Even though those behaviors become problematic in reality, the movie's cinematic style turns them into emotionally charged romance. At the core of it all, Massimo represents a fantasy of being deeply desired. Many people want to feel unforgettable, chosen, irreplaceable, and emotionally consuming to someone else. The character exaggerates those feelings to an unrealistic level, which is exactly why he became such a strong fantasy figure for audiences around the world. 1. The dangerous man fantasy. One reason many viewers are drawn to Massimo is because danger creates emotional excitement in fiction. Human psychology often associates risk with adrenaline, and adrenaline can intensify attraction. A calm, predictable character may feel emotionally safe, but a dangerous character feels thrilling and unpredictable. Massimo constantly gives the feeling that something intense could happen at any moment. Movies and novels have romanticized dangerous men for decades. Vampires, gangsters, assassins, mafia bosses, and anti-heroes are common romantic archetypes because they combine fear with attraction. The audience knows they are morally flawed, yet fiction allows viewers to safely explore the fantasy without real consequences. Massimo fits perfectly into this pattern. What makes this especially powerful is that the story portrays him as dangerous to everyone except the woman he loves. That creates the fantasy of softness hidden inside darkness. Many viewers are emotionally attracted to the idea that beneath a cold exterior exists someone capable of deep passion and vulnerability for only one person. 2. Extreme confidence. Massimo walks into every scene with complete certainty about himself. He speaks calmly, makes eye contact, takes control of situations, and rarely appears insecure. Confidence is often seen as attractive because it creates a sense of emotional stability and dominance. Many romantic leads in fiction are written to hesitate or seek approval, but Massimo never seems unsure of himself. His body language, voice, and behavior create the image of a man who believes he can have anything he wants. That level of certainty can feel magnetic to audiences, especially in fantasy stories. Confidence also creates escapism. In reality, many people deal with insecurity, anxiety, rejection, or emotional confusion. Watching a character who appears untouchable and fearless can feel emotionally intoxicating because he embodies traits many people wish they possessed themselves. 3. The fantasy of being obsessed over. A major reason girls became fascinated with Massimo is because he is completely obsessed with Laura. The movie constantly emphasizes that she becomes the center of his emotional world. He watches her, pursues her relentlessly, remembers details about her, and treats her like she is uniquely irresistible. Many people secretly desire that level of attention and emotional intensity. They want to feel unforgettable instead of replaceable. Massimo's obsession creates the fantasy of being so desired that someone would risk everything for you emotionally. In real life, obsession can become unhealthy or frightening. But fictional romance often exaggerates intensity because audiences emotionally respond to dramatic devotion. The movie intentionally frames his fixation as passionate rather than terrifying, which is why so many viewers interpreted it romantically. 4. Luxury and power. Massimo is surrounded by wealth, expensive cars, yachts, tailored suits, bodyguards, and luxurious locations. The film visually presents him almost like a fantasy lifestyle rather than just a man. Luxury itself becomes part of the attraction. Power can psychologically create attraction because it signals control, influence, and status. Throughout history, powerful figures have often been romanticized in stories because power creates emotional fascination. Massimo isn't just attractive physically, he controls environments and commands attention everywhere he goes. The movie also uses luxury as escapism. Audiences are transported into a world of private jets, expensive vacations, and glamorous romance. Massimo becomes associated with fantasy living itself, making viewers emotionally connect him with excitement and indulgence. 5. The "only soft for her" trope. One of the strongest romantic tropes in fiction is the emotionally cold man who becomes vulnerable for one woman. Massimo appears ruthless and intimidating toward everyone else, but around Laura he shows possessiveness, longing, and emotional tenderness. This trope creates emotional satisfaction because it makes the female lead feel special. The audience feels that she unlocked a side of him nobody else gets to see. That exclusivity becomes emotionally powerful in romance stories. People are often fascinated by emotionally unavailable characters because moments of softness feel more valuable when they are rare. When someone cold suddenly becomes vulnerable, the emotional impact feels amplified. Fiction uses this psychological effect constantly. 6. Physical attractiveness. A large part of Massimo's popularity simply comes from the fact that he was portrayed by Michele Morrone, whose appearance strongly matched modern romantic fantasy standards. His height, facial features, voice, physique, fashion style, and intense expressions all contributed to the character's appeal. Physical attractiveness heavily affects how audiences perceive fictional morality. Studies and media trends often show that audiences are more forgiving toward attractive fictional characters. If the exact same behaviors came from someone portrayed differently, viewers might react much more negatively. The film intentionally uses lighting, camera angles, music, and styling to maximize his attractiveness. Many scenes are designed less like realistic storytelling and more like visual fantasy, making viewers emotionally respond to aesthetics as much as personality. 7. Emotional intensity. Massimo never feels emotionally normal. Everything about him is extreme: his anger, desire, passion, jealousy, and protectiveness. Intensity can feel addictive in fictional romance because it creates emotional highs. Many viewers associate intense emotions with deep love, even though healthy love in reality is often calmer and more balanced. Fiction tends to exaggerate emotional extremes because drama creates entertainment and emotional stimulation. The relationship in the film constantly swings between tension, attraction, danger, seduction, and vulnerability. That roller coaster keeps audiences emotionally engaged because unpredictability creates suspense and excitement. 8. Mystery and emotional distance. Massimo rarely reveals everything he feels immediately. He appears emotionally guarded, mysterious, and difficult to fully understand. Mystery often increases attraction because humans naturally become curious about what they cannot fully access. When a character hides vulnerability beneath confidence and power, audiences begin searching for emotional depth underneath the surface. This creates fascination because viewers imagine hidden pain, trauma, or emotional complexity even when the story barely explores it. Emotionally distant characters also trigger the fantasy of being the one who changes him. Many romance stories rely on this dynamic because it creates emotional tension between resistance and intimacy. 9. Rebellion against safe romance. Some viewers become tired of overly perfect romantic leads who are emotionally safe, predictable, and morally flawless. Characters like Massimo feel rebellious compared to traditional romance heroes because they are darker, rougher, and morally complicated. Dark romance allows audiences to explore taboo emotional dynamics in fictional settings. For some people, that emotional danger feels more exciting than wholesome romance because it creates stronger emotional reactions. The popularity of anti-heroes across media proves this pattern exists everywhere. Audiences are often fascinated by flawed characters because flaws create unpredictability and emotional complexity. Massimo represents an exaggerated version of this anti-hero appeal. 10. Fiction separates fantasy from reality. Perhaps the biggest reason girls are drawn to Massimo is because many viewers separate fantasy from real-life standards. People can enjoy fictional characters without wanting those behaviors in reality. Loving a dark fictional romance does not automatically mean supporting toxic relationships in real life. Fiction often acts as emotional escapism. Horror fans do not want real murderers. Fans of mafia stories usually do not want actual criminal lifestyles. Similarly, many fans of Massimo are responding to cinematic fantasy rather than realistic relationship expectations. The movie intentionally exaggerates romance, seduction, danger, and obsession because fantasy thrives on emotional extremes. Massimo became popular because he represents an unrealistic emotional experience that feels thrilling to imagine, even when viewers understand it would be harmful in reality. The character shows how strongly media aesthetics influence attraction. Music, camera work, luxury settings, physical attractiveness, and emotional tension all shape how audiences interpret behavior. The film carefully transforms toxic traits into seductive fantasy through style and emotional framing. At the same time, Massimo's popularity reveals how modern audiences are fascinated by dark romance archetypes. People are often drawn to emotionally complicated anti-heroes because they create stronger emotional reactions than safe or predictable characters. Fiction thrives on intensity, not realism. However, it is important to separate fictional attraction from real-life relationship standards. Many viewers enjoy the fantasy while still understanding that possessiveness, manipulation, or controlling behavior would be unhealthy outside a movie. Fantasy works precisely because it exists in a safe fictional space. In the end, Massimo became a phenomenon because he symbolized an exaggerated fantasy of being overwhelmingly desired by someone powerful, mysterious, and emotionally consuming. Whether people loved him or hated him, the character succeeded in creating exactly what dark romance aims for: emotional obsession and unforgettable intensity.